Hey guys, my name's Gary, grateful recovering alcoholic and drug addict. Get situated here. Um, so I wanted to talk a little bit about, um, sobriety and step one, okay? And step one is we admitted we were powerless over alcohol or drugs, and our life was unmanageable. Okay, so when I was young, I was, I started drinking young, like probably regularly at like 14 or 15 years old. And then, I smoked a lot of pot. And then, like at 15, 16 years old, started doing cocaine. And then at 17 and 18 years old, I had a really bad cocaine habit and went, I got thrown out of high school and I started working and I was making pretty good money. And, for an 18-year-old kid, and all my paychecks would go to cocaine. So, and that's when I started to realize I have no power over this stuff because I would swear it off. So I would do cocaine, spend my whole check, and then swear it off. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. And, it took me a few days to recover from the weekend. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I start feeling pretty good. Thursday, I'm starting to get the itch again. Friday, I can't fucking wait till I get paid and get to the bank. And boom, I'm at the drug dealer's house Friday right after work. And I remember, even missing work or, being up all night. And I remember this one guy. So, I'd be up all night and watching, till the Indian came on the fucking television set and all the channels went off. This was back in the old days. And then, you would just get black screen or you would get the Indian that came on and, just boo, and the picture of an Indian guy. And TV went off for the night, Or I'd be watching infomercials or something like that. Or Cal Worthington and his dog Spot, If you want a better car, go see Cal. He was a local guy in Long Beach, California that sold cars and used cars, and he'd get he'd be wrestling a tiger or have an elephant out there, and he'd be on top of a fucking elephant saying, this car is for sale and da 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 da. But he was kind of famous in LA, So I'd be up at 4 in the morning, and then 5 in the morning I'd be looking out the window, and I would see this one guy, and he was like a neighbor. He lived up the street or something, and I would see him running down the street, jogging, and with his shirt off, and he was all buffed out. And then I'd see him a half hour, 45 minutes later, running backwards up the street, all buffed out, and just sweating and everything. No matter, it was every day this guy was fucking running, right? And I would think to myself, that's what I want to be like. But I can't be. Because of this, I'm fucking owned. I keep swearing this shit off, and I'm fucked up every fucking weekend, and then when I don't have my drug of choice, I'm drinking like a fish, and I remember that guy, he had no idea, but he was so important to me because he gave me kind of a little picture of what I wanted to be, and that was healthy, up at 5 in the morning, fucking exercising, and I wasn't not able to do that. There was so many things that I wasn't able to do. Consistently go to work every single day. And I wanted to be the best at work. I always wanted to be the best. And I wanted to improve. I worked for my dad's company, and I'm the third generation into the business that I'm in. My grandpa did it, my dad did it, and I'm doing it. and still doing it. But I remember like just letting not just always my dad down, but you know, I was like raised in this business by, there was a group of guys that really cared about me. It was my father, my uncle, my my grandfather early on. You know, my grandpa would be out washing trucks and stuff. He was like too old to go in the field anymore and stuff, but you know, he taught me like the shop work and stuff like that, and how to cut glass. And then there was a couple guys that had worked for my dad. One of them in particular that really spent a lot of time with me, and he was also a drug addict. He was a heroin addict, and he stopped using at about 55 years old, but he drank hard the rest of his life. I was by his side the day he died. He was like a second father to me. But so I'm raised by this group of guys that really cared about me, and that they would fucking ride my ass, man. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, what are you doing? And I knew I could be so much better, but I knew I couldn't if I was doing drugs, but I couldn't stop. And I couldn't stop drinking either. You know, I had a drunk driving at about that 17 years old, and thank God all my criminal history is, you know, before I was 18 years old. You know, I got in so much trouble. I remember my mom driving to 3 different court dates at the same day. And I remember the first time she found cocaine, and she said, "I will not go to court with you." She found some in my pocket, or I don't know where the fuck, like she was doing my laundry, and she found a baggie or something like that. And she said, "If you ever go to jail for this, you know, fuck you. I'm not going to court for you. I won't have your back." So, and I did it. I got in trouble for that. I didn't get in trouble for coke, but it was for drugs. It was just for weed. But back then it was, you know, a big deal. And got arrested for that, drunk driving. She didn't go to court with me. My dad did. And God, I was in a lot of trouble always. And it was always related to drugs and alcohol. And I knew I couldn't stop. I had sworn it off so many times, and I would see that fucking guy running up the street and then back, you know, backwards, you know, going backwards, going up the hill, you know. And man, and I wanted to be like him. I remember being like 17, 18, 19 years old going, I want to be like him. You know, he was like 45 years old or something like that, but he was a good looking guy, and he was just like healthy as hell, man. And I was like, I want to be him, you know, and I knew I couldn't be. And that was powerlessness over drugs and alcohol. And my life was unmanageable, you know, and it was unmanageable in a lot of ways. Tempers, you know, assault and batteries, and, you know, assault and battery on police officers, and just insanity, you know. And then I went into rehab, and that was my first introduction to Alcoholics Anonymous. But I went into rehab. I remember going into rehab, and they said, I went into rehab because I wanted to kick the cocaine thing at 18 years old. And I was in rehab with some cool people, man. And I went in for, I remember I found out, like, you can't drink either, you know? Like, I came in here to get off cocaine. I'm not stopping drinking. I'm not stopping, you know, drinking. Fuck that, you know? And I started to leave. And I remember my parents were called, and they came down to the rehab, and they're like, if you fucking leave, you're done. Like, we will disown you. You will have no place to live. You will have no job. You will have no car. You know, you will be walking wherever you figure out you're going, but you won't be talking to us until you get sober, because you're a fucking whirlwind tornado going through our life right now. And I was like, fuck, you know? And that was my introduction to powerlessness. And I finished out that rehab, and I just made it fun, you know. I was like getting laid and everything. You know, there was a bunch of cute girls in there and all that stuff. So you know, whatever we do in rehab, it's fun. Got fat, ate a lot. You always gain like 20 pounds in rehab. So, met a really nice girl in rehab too. She was sweet, and she's no longer with us. She was from a Hollywood family, and came from a long line of movie stars and stuff like that. But she passed away in as a young woman. She was so beautiful too. She was just a beautiful, physically. She would stop traffic, and she was just physically attractive, and her spirit was so sweet. And she's no longer with us because she died of an asthma attack. You know, years after we broke up, but she died a young woman. So that was my introduction to AA and my introduction to powerlessness. You know, this first step, and then as I got older, like now let's bring it pretty current. You know, I've got 6 months and a week or something like that. But you know, recently, you know, the last time I was out, you know, I got sober for many years, and I have like 18 years of sobriety. One time I had 7 years, one time I had 1 year, one time I had 10 years. Almost 10 years. And then I went out on prescription medication. There's another look at powerlessness over alcohol and drugs, because I was sponsoring guys. I was working a program. I was like, you know, I wasn't no fucking guru in AA or anything like that, but I was, you know, black belt AA. I knew the book frontwards and backwards, and I practiced it on a daily basis, and I lived it in my life. I lived my life through the 12 steps, and going to a lot of meetings, and I was well known and well liked, and in my home group of 120 people every morning, the 7 a.m. Morning meeting at the Canyon Club in Laguna Beach, California. And a lot of those people are still sober. And a lot of them are dead now too. You know, some of the gurus and stuff that helped get me sober. But my powerlessness was, so I'm almost 10 years sober, and I take a drug that was prescribed, and my therapist said, take what the doctor tells you to fucking take, man, you know. Well, they prescribed me a drug. You know, I answered a bunch of questions, and I took a drug called Adderall, and I took the whole bottle in like 30. I took a 30-day prescription in like 2 or 3 days. I don't remember if it was 2 or 3, but you know, as soon as I put that in, I knew I wasn't sober. A lot of people that are in sobriety take that as prescribed, and it doesn't affect them like it affected me. You know, and they could take it as prescribed, but it was, you know, I couldn't focus. I couldn't, you know, and they said, oh, well, I was depressed. I was in a depression, and then they said, well, you know, all this testing they did, you're ADD or ADHD, I don't know what the fuck label it was, you know. I'm a fucking alcoholic and drug addict. And that's the only label I want to live with. So, I embrace that today. But I took that drug, and I knew I wasn't sober, and I fucking felt so goddamn good. I took more and more and more until I was out, and then I was juggling doctors, and I was out of AA, and told everybody I'm not sober. So, you know, I looked them in the face. Everybody, all my friends said I'm not sober, I'm not going back to AA. And the 10-year fucking hard 10 years, you know, and that's powerless over alcohol and drugs. And I'm just grateful I made it back. So I don't know if anybody got anything out of that, but that was my step one, kind of in my life, and I could go through many instances where I'm powerless. over a lot of things, you know. I'm just powerless. I don't have any power. And, you know, the power that I do think I have is what I've noticed is when I'm sober is I have the power to help people, okay? Or I could stay stuck in self. And when I'm stuck in self, I'm fucked. I'm in trouble. And I have the power to make people feel good by saying nice things and treating them nice. That's a powerful thing, you know. Because I admit I'm powerless, I go to work every day. And, you know, I have this life where I'm that guy, you know, that guy running up and down the street. I am him. So I exercise. And, you know, I'm not 100% back into my routine. I'm not even probably 50% back into my routine. But I am that guy. And I'm just wounded right now. And I'm getting back into it, you know. But it makes me feel good because when I was looking back, I'm like, well, I am that guy. And I go to work every day. And I'm valuable to the company. And people depend on me. And I'm a problem solver. And I build big projects. And I organize big projects. And I keep them on schedule. And, you know, I'm capable of all these great things. And they're up to my standards, you know. They're up to my standards. And I make mistakes, but, you know, we all do. But because of the program, I am that guy today. You know, I'm that guy. I just walked through the death of my son. And I didn't drink and I didn't shoot myself. And I spent very little time beating the shit out of myself for it. Or beating anybody else up for it. Or, you know, I was able to stand at my son's funeral and give him a eulogy he deserved. And it was respectful, and we laughed and cried. And there was a lot of people there. I don't know how many, but it was a lot. There was well over 100 people. And it was a beautiful day. I was a great ex-husband during that ordeal. I was able to go get on a plane the very next day in shock, alone, and go identify my son's body in the Long Beach coroner's office. And I can't even believe when I say that, like it just seemed so surreal. And so yeah, that stuff's hard. So I'm able to be the man that I want to be today. Not 100%, but, you know, I have something to shoot for. And I could be anything I want to be. I'm 56 years old and I could do and go wherever I want to go, be whoever I want to be tomorrow or today. I could work out or not, but I'm not in bondage. If I don't work out in the morning, it's because I didn't feel like it, not because I was in bondage from fucking drugs and alcohol. It's because, I want to take a day off and, you know, hang out and watch a movie or something instead. You know, I don't have to do anything. I'm not handcuffed to drugs and alcohol. So I live free. I'm a free man today. And I love this saying. Today is the first day of the rest of my life. And when I wake up tomorrow, I can bring that thought into tomorrow when I wake up and open my eyes, and I can think, today is the first day of the rest of my life. What am I going to do with it today? How am I going to treat people? How am I going to treat myself? What am I going to do for my sobriety? You know, am I going to pray and meditate and try to quiet this thing You know, this thing that wants to always get me in trouble, put me into the tank, you know. So remember, you guys, 5-day God challenge. If you're having trouble with drugs or alcohol, if you find that maybe you're powerless over drugs and alcohol and you could be living a better life, like I just explained in the video, I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm not saying it's part of the program or anything else. I'm just saying what worked for me, okay? What worked for me is I prayed for many months, God, please make me willing to be willing. So I'm just going to make a suggestion for 5 days. Get on your knees in the morning, once in the morning, once in the evening. In the morning, say, God, please help keep me sober today. In the evening, if you went to bed sober, say thank you. If you didn't go to bed sober, say, God, you know, there's always tomorrow. Let's try this again tomorrow. And if you're having trouble believing in God, you can borrow mine because he worked great for me. And he's a really big God, and I can share him with anybody who needs him. He's all loving, powerful, and he surely has the power to keep more than one person sober. He's done a great job with me, you guys. So the other thing I want to mention is there's a foundation called the Impact Foundation, LA.org. It's run by the I say this, fuck this up every time. It's run by the Energizer Bunny named Vicky. And she just keeps going. And she never stops, never sleeps. Just works 24/7. And she has dedicated her life to helping people and building this foundation that is designed to help people in need. And your money would be going to a wonderful place. Go to the Impact Foundation, LA.org, hit the donate button, and scroll through the site. Check it out. Look at the people that are part of this thing. It's a big deal. It just had its second annual golf tournament. And the tournament was, Vicky had lost her son, Chase Malone, to an accidental fentanyl overdose. He was poisoned. He did not know he was taking the drug fentanyl. And he was just partying, you know, for the night. Wasn't in danger of taking anything to kill him, you know. And he ended up dying because he was poisoned by the cartel, okay? And, you know, she's dedicated her life in her son's memory, and dedicated her time and her services in building this foundation in her son's memory, and what a great thing it is. So, donate, you guys. The foundation needs the money really bad to get its wings so it can fly and start helping people. Right now, it's not operating, but it's working towards that goal. All right. So thank you for listening to my craziness and my step one, and I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks.